$90, $150, $200. These aren't the prices of tech gadgets or designer shoes. This is the price of passion. The price of wearing your club's colors on your chest for millions of football fans. Around the world, buying the new season's shirt is a ritual, a declaration of loyalty. But as you stand at the checkout, have you ever stopped to wonder, is this passion being exploited? Why has a simple piece of polyester become one of the most expensive items in a fan's wardrobe? Globally, the replica kit market is a multi-billion-dollar behemoth, and the price tags just keep climbing. So are we, the fans, being taken for a ride by greedy corporations and clubs? The real story is far more fascinating and complex than you might think. We're about to peel back the layers on the business of football shirts, revealing where every single dollar of that exorbitant price really goes. If you love deep dives into the business behind the beautiful game, and you want to understand the forces that shape the sport we adore, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and ring the bell. You won't want to miss what's coming, and your support helps us create more content just like this. To understand the price, we first have to understand the product. And for that, we need to rewind the clock way back. Imagine a muddy field in the mid-19th century. There are no gleaming, branded kits, no superstar names printed on the back. In the infancy of organized football, teams were a chaotic mess of personal attire. Players simply showed up in whatever they owned. The first, primitive solution to tell friend from foe, simple colored sashes, scarves, or caps. The first seeds of team identity were sown in 1857 by the world's oldest football club, Sheffield FC, whose rules stated that each player must have a red and a dark blue flannel cap, one for each side. It was a humble beginning. Soon, clubs began dyeing entire shirts in their chosen colors, hand-stitching their crests to the fabric. This pure, unadorned style defined the look of football for nearly a century. The only significant change was the addition of numbers on the back, a practical innovation to help commentators and fans identify players from the stands. But then came the 1970s, a decade of vibrant color and radical change that bled onto the football pitch. Suddenly, teams were experimenting. Pink, a color now famously associated with clubs like Inter Miami, was being worn by German side Hamburg. But a far more significant change was about to take place. In 1973, a deer wandered onto the pitch, or at least onto the shirt of German team Eintracht Braunschweig. It was the logo of the liqueur producer, Jägermeister. For the sum of 100,000 German marks, Braunschweig became the first club to feature a corporate sponsor on its jersey. It was a watershed moment that opened the floodgates to a new commercial era. What was once considered sacrilege soon became the golden goose. Initially, many purists and even broadcasters were horrified. The BBC, for a time, refused to show matches featuring sponsored kits, viewing it as a crass intrusion of advertising. But money talks. And soon, everyone wanted a piece of the action. The 1990s poured rocket fuel on this fire. The formation of mega leagues and the explosion of lucrative television broadcast deals transformed football into a global entertainment product. And at the heart of the marketing machine was the replica kit. It was no longer enough to just support your team. You were now expected to wear your support. The design philosophy shifted dramatically. Shirts had to look good, not just under stadium floodlights, but also in the pub, on the street, worn with a pair of jeans. They became fashion items, collectibles, and a tangible link to the club's identity. Today, they are a fusion of tribal loyalty and street style, a significant and non-negotiable revenue stream for every major club in the world. The massive kit deals with giants like Adidas, Nike, and Puma pour hundreds of millions into club coffers each year, and that money has to be recouped from somewhere. The obvious source, us, the fans. So that brings us back to the central question. Are clubs and brands just pushing prices up because they can? Let's tackle the most obvious defense first. A typical Football shirt today does cost roughly 3 times what it did 30 years ago. But so does almost everything else. It's a little concept called inflation. When you factor in the steady, cumulative effect of inflation over 3 decades, that seemingly cheap $30 shirt from the early 90s would cost around $70 or $80 in today's money. And what is the price of a standard replica shirt today? Right around $70 or $80. So from that perspective, the baseline cost hasn't skyrocketed. The feeling of being ripped off isn't because shirts are more expensive than ever before, it's because they have always been an expensive, premium item. But wait, you're thinking, the shirts I see in the club shop are well over $100. And you're right, that's because the industry, in a stroke of marketing genius, created a clever 2-tier system. They might look identical from a distance, but there's a world of difference between a replica shirt and an authentic one. The authentic version is the exact shirt worn by the players on the pitch. It's a piece of high-performance athletic equipment. Brands pour research and development into making these shirts as lightweight, breathable, and aerodynamic as possible. They feature advanced moisture-wicking fabrics, laser-cut ventilation holes, and heat-pressed badges to reduce weight and irritation. It's a second skin engineered for peak performance. The replica version, on the other hand, is designed for the fan. It's all about comfort and durability for everyday wear. The materials are still high quality, but they prioritize a more relaxed, forgiving fit over elite athletic performance. For years, only the replica version was available to the public. But as fandom became more immersive, a growing number of supporters wanted the Ronaldo experience. They wanted to wear precisely what their heroes wore. Clubs and brands happily obliged, introducing the premium-priced authentic shirt to meet this demand. This is the second major reason for the perceived price hike. A new, more expensive product tier was created, and we, the fans, are buying it. It's a simple, if frustrating, law of economics. Things are expensive because we are willing to pay the price. So does that mean the margins are obscene? Let's break down the journey of a hypothetical $100 shirt to see where their money truly goes. It begins its life in a factory, often in Southeast Asia. The raw manufacturing cost, including the high-tech fabric and labor? A surprisingly low figure, perhaps only $8 to $10. But that's just the very first step. That shirt now has to be shipped across the world. That's freight cost. It needs to be insured against being lost in a storm or damaged in transit. That's insurance. And when it lands in its destination country, the government wants its cut in the form of import taxes and customs duties. By the time it reaches the brand's warehouse, that $10 shirt might now have a landed cost of around $12 to minus $1. The brand then sells this shirt, but not for $100. They sell it at a wholesale price to retailers. Now for the biggest slice of the pie, the retailer. Whether it's a giant online store or your local sports shop, they often take the largest single margin, sometimes up to 40 or even 50% of the final price. That's $40 to $50 of your $100, of course. This isn't pure profit for them. From that amount, they have to pay for expensive retail store rent, staff salaries, marketing, and all the other overheads of running a business. Their final profit on that shirt might only be a few dollars. After the retailer's cut, and after deducting sales taxes like VAT, which can be around 20%, we're left with what the manufacturer, like Nike or Adidas, actually receives. From their remaining share, they have to pay for their own massive global marketing campaigns. Think of those glossy TV commercials. They have to fund the design, development, and distribution logistics. And, crucially, they have to pay a licensing fee and royalties to the football club or national federation for the rights to use their name and crest. This fee can be another 5 to 10% of the shirt's retail price. When all the dust settles, the brand's actual net profit on that $100 shirt is far less than you'd imagine. It's often in the range of $15 to $20. It's a healthy margin, for sure, but it's not the $90 profit that the initial factory cost might suggest. And yet, the story doesn't end in the club shop. In fact, for many, that's where the real value begins. The interest in football shirts has exploded into a vibrant subculture. The secondary market is booming, a forgotten classic from the 90s, with its baggy fit and wild design, can now fetch more than a brand new authentic kit. Rare, match-worn shirts have become serious collector's items, changing hands for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. The biggest profits on football shirts today aren't being made by Adidas or Nike, but on eBay and specialized collector sites. So why do we do it? Why do we spend so much on what is essentially a piece of polyester? Because it's never just a piece of polyester. It's a time capsule, it's a wearable memory. This shirt reminds you of that last-minute winner. That one reminds you of a heartbreaking final. This one reminds you of watching games with your father. They are woven with the invisible threads of our own lives, our friendships, and our most cherished experiences. They are a badge of identity, a symbol of belonging to a global tribe, and for that feeling, for many of us, the price will always be worth it.